Han Sen ventured back into the mountains in the hopes of tracking more super creatures. Although there were many super creatures, he couldn't just go for any. Furthermore, he had to find second-generation ones, which greatly narrowed those he could deem to be appropriate targets. Just under 40 super Geno points to go until I can max it out. Han Sen was hoping to become a surpasser sometime soon, as he was too weak right now and could not compete with the elites of the Alliance. Leaving the craggy slopes of the mountains behind him, he found himself in the midst of verdant expanses and emerald pastures. The fields were still on a bit of a slant, but they were decorated with an abundance of plants. On the grassy fields, Han Sen saw a single creature chasing away a whole group of lesser creatures. They were like sheep being herded, and there were many of them. Seeing its life force, he realized that it was a sacred blood creature. Han Sen wasn't interested in killing sacred blood creatures, so he planned to fly past the ongoing kerfuffle and save himself the time and energy it would take to dispatch them. But as Han Sen flew over, the silver fox leapt off his shoulder. After the silver fox slew the monster, it did not proceed to slay the sheep. Instead, all it did was gaze at them from afar. Han Sen could only guess why. With a puzzled expression, Han Sen went over to the silver fox and squatted by its side to watch the sheep just as his little pet did. Then Han Sen saw something weird. Ordinary creatures rarely ate plants, or food in general. Only the children of creatures traditionally ate plants, and they were usually super creatures. But the herd of sheep that Han Sen watched graze was entirely composed of ordinary and mutant creatures. "Little Silver, it is time for us to go." When Han Sen told the silver fox it was time to leave, it didn't budge. All it did was continue to lie on the grass and watch the sheep. There was nothing Han Sen could do about its stubborn refusal to leave, so all he did was return to the silver fox and continue watching the sheep alongside it. When the sun looked about to set, the sheep began to relocate. One sheep took the lead, and it led them directly up the mountains Han Sen had just come down from. The silver fox followed them, and Han Sen followed the silver fox. Not long after, the sheep entered a valley that was sealed on one end. But this seemed to be where the sheep lived. The silver fox sniffed the ground all around like a little pig, which amused Han Sen. But Han Sen understood this behavior was abnormal for the silver fox. It only behaved like this if it had found something. Therefore, he gave it the time it needed. "Is there treasure to be found here, in the mountains?" Han Sen bore a look of deep contemplation, but then, he saw the silver fox hasten its pace and proceed further into the valley. Han Sen snapped out of his thoughts and quickly ran to catch up. The silver fox sniffed the ground all along the way, as if it were in search of something. The sheep didn't seem aggressive, and when the duo approached them, all the sheep did was run away. Little Silver continued on its way into the deeper recesses of the valley. It seemed to have been led to the face of a cliff, and it began scraping the stone with its claws. There was a very thin crack where the silver fox was digging. Han Sen approached the wall and took a look at what the silver fox was trying to dig through. From the small crevice, a sort of liquid leaked. It looked like it was providing moisture to the plants in the area, allowing them to grow more quickly. The hasty silver fox had managed to dig a 2-meter hole into the ground. At its bottom, it opened up into a cave. It was massive, and the cavern was furnished with a grand number of stalactites. It was rather humid inside, and in there you could also hear the constant sound of water dripping. Han Sen saw much water drop from the tips of the stalactites, adding to a pool that had formed below them. The water that babbled out of the mountain must have come from this pool, but it didn't look like anything special. The silver fox approached the pool and circled it numerous times, as if he was looking for something specific. Han Sen followed the silver fox, but before he joined it at the side of the pool, the silver fox turned around, showed its teeth to its master, and growled, "Don't be so selfish. Even if you have located something decent, I won't steal it from you." Han Sen might have said that, but it was just a lie. In his heart, he contemplated the manner in which he might steal whatever goodie the silver fox was searching for. But still, with the silver fox behaving that way, Han Sen stayed his approach. He stood a small distance away and observed the silver fox, hoping to catch a glimpse of what it was searching for. Not long after, Han Sen noticed the reason the silver fox had shooed him away. It wasn't because of greed, it was because there was something in the pool that was living. Little Silver was warning him. Han Sen didn't realize this at first, but when the silver fox stopped to observe the pool, he noticed something was amiss. In the pool, in the direction the silver fox was looking, swam a fish. The fish wasn't very large. In fact, it was only about 10 centimeters long, and it was semi-transparent. The bones were transparent as well, and the only way you could properly catch sight of it was by spotting its blood vessels. If you didn't peer at the water carefully and look for it that way, you wouldn't notice it existed at all. Not long after, a sheep entered the cave the silver fox had dug. It didn't seem to be afraid of people, and it strutted right over beside Han Sen. When the sheep saw the pool, it bawed. It walked towards the pool as if it were thirsty and fancied a drink. Han Sen thought the silver fox was going to stop it, but it didn't. It continued to lie where it was, watching the sheep quench its thirst at the pool. Han Sen thought the fish might have been angry at this intrusion, but it didn't have any negative reaction. The sheep drank quite a bit, and once it was done, it turned around and prepared to leave. But what Han Sen saw next was a most terrifying scene. The sheep's mouth began to rot, and bits of sizzling flesh fell to the ground below. To make it all the more unnerving, the sheep acted as if it had not noticed a thing. It wasn't in pain or anything, and it merely continued to trot back towards the outside as casually as it had entered. While it walked, more of its flesh fizzled away from its face, coating the cavern floor in blood. It began to happen elsewhere on its body, as goopy chunks of its flesh slid free from the bones of the sheep they once composed. It wasn't long until parts of its skeleton were exposed. The sheep continued walking to the exit, and by the time it left the cave, it was nothing but a skeleton. In a grisly, horrific mess, its organs lay scattered and strewn all about. Seeing the sheep walk outside alive, with only its bones to indicate what it was, Han Sen could hardly believe his eyes. Han Sen was given a cold sweat seeing this, and now he quickly understood why the silver fox did not want him to approach. The liquid in that pool was by no means a consumable refreshment. For the fish itself to survive inside there, it had to be a miracle. Little Silver, if you keep waiting here, it'll all be for nothing. If you want this fish out of the pool, don't expect it to do so by itself. Perhaps we should bang our heads together and think of a way in which we can get it out ourselves, eh? Han Sen spoke to Little Silver as he continued to lie prone, watching the fish. The silver fox then turned around and looked at Han Sen, as if he was expecting Han Sen to suggest a plan. Use your thunder, electrify the water, spook it out, and then grab it, Han Sen suggested after a short period of thought. The silver fox looked at Han Sen with disdain. It cast lightning out onto the surface of the water, but it didn't seem to do anything. It appeared as if it dissolved when it came into contact with the curious liquid of the pool. Now Han Sen understood the look he had been given, realizing the lightning could not penetrate the surface of the water. What is this water, then? What makes it behave like that? Han Sen was shocked. Well, that's okay. If the thunder is absorbed by the water, I'd like to see it absorb this. As Han Sen's dialogue came to a close, he quickly summoned his peacock crossbow, loaded it with raw Z-steel bolts, and took aim at the fish in the pool. The silver fox's eyes opened wide and it retreated a few steps, expecting Han Sen to kill the fish. Approaching the pool a little closer, Han Sen corrected his aim to obtain perfect accuracy on the fish. He predicted its movement and then pulled the trigger. But when the bolt pierced the water, he somehow missed. The surface of the pool was mirror-like, giving a reflection far clearer than average water would. Therefore, the fish's position in the water was different than it appeared. The bolt missed and lodged itself inside the rocky bottom of the pool. This made Han Sen feel pretty bad. The water was terrifying, and Han Sen didn't think he could retrieve the Z-steel raw bolt with any modicum of ease. But he didn't dwell on it too much, but instead retrieved another Z-steel bolt and took aim at the fish once more. Han Sen calculated its path and took into account the refraction of the water. The bolt pierced the water and the fish's body. Its body did not resist the flight of the bolt in the slightest, and all it did was twitch a little before flipping over dead. It died, as simple as that. Han Sen froze. He did not expect the creepy fish to die so easily. There was no struggle, and it was killed with a single shot. This is not right. Han Sen saw the fish floating belly up, but noticed something amiss. If he had killed the transparent blighter, then he should have received an announcement. But there hadn't been one. Is that transparent fish faking its death? Han Sen watched it intently and saw the Z-steel bolt still resting embedded inside the fish's body. He didn't believe it had survived. If it was indeed faking its death, however, then how powerful or clever must the fish have been? Han Sen inched his way towards the pool, and this time, the silver fox did not stop him. He summoned his flaming Rex spike and set about trying to retrieve the fish from the water. Although the fish had indeed died, the bolt proved to be too heavy and it made the fish sink. As a result, it was going to be a finicky trial attempting to fish up the fish. The Rex spike was a powerful thing, but the weapon appeared to corrode and melt at its submerged end. Quickly, Han Sen returned the weapon. Fortunately, he had only put the flaming Rex spike in by about 10 centimeters. If Han Sen had put it any deeper, he was certain the entire weapon would have been destroyed. What is this? The flaming Rex spike surely cannot be any weaker than the Z-steel bolt. So why is the bolt okay and this fire-wreathed hunk of metal isn't? Does the liquid in the pool have an adverse effect when coming into contact with beast souls? Strange water. Han Sen had much surprise in his heart, but he had an idea. Han Sen brought out his Z-steel bolt and tied a rope to it. He was going to fire it at the dead fish and retrieve both the fish and bolt by pulling the rope. He only needed to pull it once. Even if the rope broke, he should be able to nab the fish before it melted. But when Han Sen fired the bolt, the fish seemed to move once more. It twisted its body and evaded the bolt. The Z-steel bolt in the creature's body was starting to look awfully corroded by this point, and when the fish moved, the bolt snapped in two and broke completely. It was shaken from the fish's body and sank to the bottom of the pool to suffer a corrosive demise. Han Sen thought about filling up the pool with rocks and draining it that way, but when he dropped in one rock, the fish swung its tail and batted the rock away like a baseball. There was a big splash, too, which almost soaked Han Sen. Fortunately, he was quick to react and dodge. God knew what would have happened had he not moved out of the way. FCKU, I don't believe I cannot kill you. There was a treasure in front of Han Sen, but it was currently unobtainable. It was like a terrible itch. But just as Han Sen frowned in contemplation, his pocket vibrated. Then, the scallop shell magically removed itself from the pocket and flew over near the pool. She flew near the pool and spat frosty air out across the surface of the water. The water in the pool began to freeze over relatively quickly. The fairy kept the icy pressure on and continued to blow frosty air until the entire pool was a block of ice. And as the water froze more and more, the fish went into a state of panic. But being unable to leave the pool, there was nothing it could do. As the water became ice, the fish's movements became slower and slower. When it had all turned to ice, the fish was trapped inside, motionless. With a cocky, boisterous face, the fairy turned to look at Han Sen. Then, she turned back around and punched the ice with her fist. It shattered. As shards of ice scattered into the air and onto the ground around them, the fish was sent flying. With great speed, the fairy managed to catch the fish in her tiny hands. With the prize Han Sen sought, she flew over and did circles around him. This delighted Han Sen, and as he observed the fish the little fairy had obtained for him, he noticed how clean it looked. There was not a single speck of dirt nor a single minor blemish on it, and like it was a tantalizing ice lolly for a hot summer day, Han Sen grabbed it eagerly. Well, the little fairy finally did something of value. It seems the time and expense I have spent treating you has finally paid off. Han Sen, receiving the fish, made sure to compliment the little fairy in his typical deadpan way. The little fairy was a little full of herself following this, so she went to sit on top of Han Sen's head. You want this? Han Sen put the iced fish in front of the silver fox. It nodded, then gobbled the fish up in haste. Upon its consumption, Han Sen immediately noticed the silver fox's fur turning to crystal. It was quite eye-catching. Its crystallized fur fell to the ground as if it were shed, and new fur took its place. That such a small fish could provide such grand changes to the silver fox surprised Han Sen. After the silver fox finished evolving, it leapt up into Han Sen's arms. It rubbed its head against Han Sen's chest and looked ecstatic. Han Sen stroked the silver fox's head, wondering why a creature with the power of thunder could also heal. He worried that, despite his connection with the silver fox, it really was just a creature. If it wanted to enter the third god's sanctuary alongside Han Sen, it would need a breakthrough of sorts. And even if it could ascend to the third god's sanctuary, there was no guarantee they would end up at the same shelter together. I hope our distance won't be too great. Han Sen could only hope. Han Sen. Luo Yin's eyes shone brightly, having never seen Han Sen in person before. All that he had seen were pictures and videotapes of the man. He believed that he knew Han Sen's appearance better than he did his own. Without hesitation, Luo Yin approached him. He came with one purpose, and that was to educate Han Sen in how powerful the falsified Sky Sutra really was as a skill. Han Sen, seeing Luo Yin approach, looked surprised. He recognized him from their prior encounter when Han Sen had assumed his dollar persona. What is it? Han Sen looked at Luo Yin, who was standing in front of him. You are Han Sen. Luo Yin wasn't very fond of trouble, and neither did he like to beat around the bush. He wasn't going to waste any more time, so all he wanted to do after getting confirmation on his identity was to immediately reveal the power of the falsified Sky Sutra. Without saying another word, Luo Yin threw his hand forward in an attempt to slash Han Sen. An invisible power flew towards him, on track as if it was its fate to damage him. Han Sen immediately activated his Dongshuan aura. The invisible powers he had once been unable to track could now be locked onto and followed. Reaching out his hand, he brought with it the power of thunder. He swung his fist forward, but it did not seem to connect with Luo Yin's attack at all. Pang! A bolt of lightning snapped the air as an invisible force shattered like glass, disappearing before Han Sen's eyes. Luo Yin's pupils became smaller, having witnessed his falsified sky power be blocked. He had not imagined such a thing to be possible. No way. Luo Yin could not accept this, unable to believe the powers of the falsified Sky Sutra could be prevented. Without reprieve, he moved to attack Han Sen again. But with a casual throw of his fist, Han Sen broke the next invisible force that lusted for his blood. Luo Yin's eyes were bloodshot as he madly attacked Han Sen with all his might and ferocity. It was all to no avail, however, as Han Sen effortlessly broke every single invisible force that was hurled at him. When all was said and done, he had not suffered a single scratch. He had repeatedly made use of the falsified Sky Sutra's most powerful attack, and it had not once hit Han Sen. Regardless of how many times he cast it, he could not even ruffle his target's clothes. Han Sen was only blocking his attacks, not even fighting back. But Luo Yin began staggering backwards, muttering strangely as if he had just seen a ghost. His faith was collapsing, unable to believe someone of the same level could block his falsified sky power. He had never even considered such a thing could be possible. In Luo Yin's heart, the falsified Sky Sutra was the most powerful hyper-geno art in existence, and with it at his side, nothing could stop him. "You are from the Luo family?" Han Sen asked, looking at him. Luo Yin wanted to answer, but at that moment, he found himself incapable. He was suddenly overwhelmed by shame, a shame stemming from his association to the Luo family. "Well, go back. I am not from the Luo family." After Han Sen said this, he waved to Golden Growler and walked past the man who was now in shambles. Luo Yin, back in the alliance, could not wait to see Luo Haidang. He was going to tell him all that had transpired with Han Sen. Luo Yin wore a complicated expression, and when he finally mustered the courage to speak again, he muttered the words, "I failed." "What do you mean you failed? Come in and tell me how he managed to block the falsified sky power." Luo Haidang's face looked serious. He knew Luo Yin would lose, but he never expected Han Sen would be able to block all of his attacks. What did Little Lan teach that boy? Luo Haidang thought this was all the work of Luo Lan. He had not and would not entertain the possibility that it had nothing to do with her. Han Sen did not consider the impact his block would have on the family. But after the fight was over, he was more than pleased with his success. It meant his vigorous practice had not been wasted. It was time well spent. Back in the Alliance, Han Sen made plans to go on Skynet and see if anyone had encountered any super creatures that would be viable for him to fight. With this information, he could return to the sanctuary and slay them. But before he concluded his research, he received a message from Hyungfu Pinking. "Little Junior, you are a big hero now. It has been difficult getting in touch with you." Han Sen laughed and replied, "Yeah. If you need to see me again after today, you're going to have to start booking tickets." "What? Are you the latest, greatest exhibit in the zoo?" Hyunfu Pinking rolled her eyes. "Hey, I am a rarer sort than any animal you might find in a zoo. Are you interested in a pet fight?" Well, in the past few years, humans have been showing a greater interest in having pet beast souls. This is especially true in the first and second god sanctuaries. The primary reason they have gotten so popular of late, however, is you. Your angel pet has made many factions turn their focus and attention to the raising of pets. That being said, the strongest type of pets they have been able to achieve are berserk sacred blood types. And even those are very rare, even for the big factions. The Donglin company focuses on pet beast souls the most, and in the past few years, people have been buying incredible numbers of pet beast souls. Recently, they have been having pets fight in the Alliance. Very good prizes are offered to those who are in first place, and the exclusive Donglin medicine that is not available for sale is a frequent item up for grabs. And, well, I need that medicine. You want me to win that medicine for you? Han Sen looked at Hyunfu Pinking and asked, "With your angel pet, I don't think anything can rightly stop you from winning." Hyunfu Pinking smiled at Han Sen. She blinked and fluttered her eyelids to attract him, and then continued by saying, "Of course, I couldn't ask this of you for free. Whatever you desire, I can satisfy you." Han Sen saw the first place prizes and was shocked, thinking they were far too good. If that medicine was available for general sale, many would buy it for exorbitant prices. Han Sen had even wanted some of that medicine before, as well, but the opportunity to get it had never come around. What is wrong with that guy in Donglin? It is so obvious he seeks to offer this stuff to me for free. After Hyunfu Pinking left, Han Sen started thinking about what was truly going on with this proposed pet fight. Do you think there is an ulterior motive to this kindness of theirs? Is it a conspiracy? Han Sen looked at Jai Yanran with concern. I don't know, but the match has been arranged to take place in the Central Galaxy. It won't be hosted in Donglin itself, so there is nothing the Kai family can do. If there was a conspiracy, there was no way they would dare do something aggressive towards Han Sen and the Alliance. That was, unless they have lost their minds and gone completely insane. Even if they didn't care about the fact that he was the president's son-in-law, getting the Luo family mad would lead to the Donglin company being destroyed in a single day. Are you going to go? Jai Yanran looked at Han Sen and asked. Yes, of course. Why would I turn down some free goodies? If the matches really are taking place in the Central Galaxy instead of Donglin, then there is nothing to be afraid of. Han Sen laughed. Well, be careful. That man in Dongling is not soft, Jai Yanran reminded him. Okay, Han Sen nodded, but his mind was already adrift. He was pondering how he might split up the prize medicine he'd win. The match starts tomorrow. This will be your first time in the Central Galaxy. Yes, Jai King will be there, so allow her to be your tour guide. Wait, the Jai King who slew a super creature. Han Sen was surprised. Yes, and she wants to see you. She has wanted to for a while, but she has been unable to see you due to your commitments to the army. Now seems a fitting time. Jai Ruojian paused for a brief moment, then went on to say, but this girl is really quite arrogant. If she offends you in any way, don't take it to heart. Han Sen confirmed his understanding. Even if she was arrogant and offensive, Han Sen wouldn't bother picking a fight with a little girl. But when Han Sen saw Jai King, he was wrong. She was not a young person, as he suspected. She looked more mature than Jai Yanran, and she was beautiful and charming. Brother-in-law, let's go. Jai King walked in front of Han Sen and smiled. Han Sen followed her out and was led to an aircraft. She hopped into the pilot's seat and asked him to step in. Little King, are you driving this? Han Sen thought a renowned member of the family such as her would have bodyguards by her side, or at least a chauffeur for a pilot. Is there anywhere specific you'd like to go? Jai King asked Han Sen as she flew the craft. It's my first time here, so I don't know what's on the menu. Why don't you decide on where we should go? And once we're done, take me back, Han Sen said. I can't do that. Uncle told me to treat you well, so how about I take you someplace fun? Jai King had an enigmatic smile as she turned the aircraft in another direction and accelerated. When he saw her smile, Han Sen knew it wouldn't be long before he found himself in trouble that night. She was obviously cooking up a devious scheme. But Han Sen did not mind too much, and so he placed his gaze on what he could see out the windows. Han Sen pointed at things he did not know about and asked about them. Jai King answered everything but felt a little uncomfortable. Soon after, the aircraft landed atop a large skyscraper. Han Sen and Jai King sat at a table face to face. Many people bid passing greetings to her, indicating her familiarity and popularity with the people there. When Han Sen looked around, he noticed a battle stage. 2 people were currently atop it, in a friendly bout of black and white boxing. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.